Now, before we go, I do want to kind of touch on something. This is obviously a PlayStation show. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a big, huge open world samurai game releasing in 2025, but it's not the only one. We have Ghost of Yotei on the horizon, which is coming by way of Sucker Punch. Something I want to point out is that there's going to be a lot of comparisons between these two. But it's worth noting that I think something like 20 times as many people work for Ubisoft as work for Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch made a big, huge, beautiful, polished game, but they have something like 150 employees. And I think Ubisoft Montreal has like 4,000. So like, and they're also, building on the foundation of one game rather than 20 years worth of games. So like,
sure.
And again, that can go either way. But I guess I'm sort of curious, does Shadows make you more excited for Yotei? Does it make you nervous? Is there something that Yotei can do that'll really blow this out of the water? Jada, let's start with you.
I don't think nervous. I definitely don't feel nervous for Yotei, and I don't think Sucker Punch is either. I think these are two distinctly different type of games that take place in the same kind of, maybe not era, but in the same kind of style of gameplay. I look at Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm looking at Ghost of Yotei as being this very strong narrative, expansive story with this kind of world that you kind of live in and experience. Whereas Assassin's Creed Shadows has some of those elements, but it feels like a playground where it's just I'm there having fun, doing whatever the heck I want to do, it's just a playground for me. And I absolutely love that about Shadows, and I love that Yotei and Tsushima gives something different. It feels very different when you play them, and I'm more than happy that they both exist. I know I think I mentioned it on back in Game of the Year Watch or some of their shows last year, that I was worried about Shadows because they're pushing it closer. Everything's got pushed back. It got pushed closer and closer to Yotei, which is going to make it just get overshadowed. But man, did Ubisoft really put their foot in it this time for this game. It is so good. They did such a good thing with Shadows, and I'm just excited to see how Yotei expands on its formula. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation later this year with them both dropping when it comes to Game of the Year talks. And because this one we're all so high on Shadows, Yotei is going to have to do a lot to kind of really dethrone it. And I know it's already going to have a leg up for a lot of people because people are Ubi slop, whatever, Ghost of Tsushima, that was our game, that should have been Game of the Year that year. There's no way it doesn't beat AC Shadows. But there is a world where Yotei comes out and it does that kind of incremental sequel stuff where it's it does the Spider-Man 2. This is a great game. They added so much cool stuff to Spider-Man 2 from Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, but we're not as hot on it as we were with Spider-Man 2018 or Miles Morales. That could happen with Yotei. I don't think it's going to, but there is a world, there is a timeline, a universe where
I hope they don't make us go to Queens. I don't care. Queens, Japan.
I mean, you mentioned, Sucker Punch having a smaller staff, and it's 100% true. I do think that within that smaller staff are some of the most talented environmental artists on Earth. And I think that this game, Yotei, has a potential to outclass Shadows just in terms of art direction. And Shadows is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that department. But I think that Ghost of Tsushima just really went in with a much more cinematic approach that Shadows isn't generally attempting in the same regard. Weirdly, one of the things that it does have an advantage of over Shadows is a thing that the modern Assassin's Creed open world RPG games did for a long time until Shadows came out, and that's giving you an animal sidekick to kill people. The last three open world games, Odyssey, Origins, Valhalla, they let you tame beasts and bring them out in the wild and kill other people with them. And then in Shadows, they're basically animals are to be respected and painted, and they do not come into combat with you. And Yotei is you get a wolf. Yeah. Use the wolf to kill people. And I was all right, cool.
You could say that Ubisoft doesn't have a dog in this fight, I guess.
They don't.
Mark, what about you?
It's funny. So in my time with Shadows, I don't think I thought about Ghost of Tsushima once, in the context of is this better or worse or anything like that. To me, it's just so different. I think visually, Ghost of Yotei will probably end up winning out because Assassin's Creed Shadows, while fully current gen, there's no PS4 or Xbox version. There is an Xbox and PC version where Yotei is being built from the ground up for PS5/PS5 Pro. And so the Sony first party is always able to ink out visuals
Yes.
in a way that multi-platform games can't. This isn't a chat about whether or not exclusivity is good or bad, but in this respect, it's undoubtedly like a more powerful, like visually game when they only have to develop for one platform. I get in this case two, because it would be PS5 and PS5 Pro. But as far as gameplay goes, the one thing that kind of like drove me crazy about Tsushima was every mission was kind of a like let's follow the NPC mission at the start. It was always like, let's go for a stroll. And this game does something that is like so magical, but it's so dumb, which is they just let you hold X and then your character just auto follows them.
Yes.
So if Yotei is going to continue the trend of like, let's walk and talk, which is frankly miserable sometimes, they did it so much in Tsushima, then hopefully they bring that over. I think I'd also like to see the seasons move over as well. I do like this like thing, like GTA Online when it's winter and they're like San Andreas is just covered in snow, which doesn't make sense because
there's shots of snow in the Yotei trailer, so I think we might get something like that. I think it'll less. No. I'm not sure. It might be more like based on the sort of narrative progression rather than just like a gameplay mechanic that you can trigger in the menu. But I'm interested to see that. It's really cool. Like they're both doing snow this time around, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm with Mark on Yotei having the advantage of being I don't think an exclusive is good. It kind of sucks the idea of people working that hard on a game for so long and then it being put in a walled garden. But like at the same time,
it'll come to PC.
Yeah, it'll come to PC, which will be good. But like as far as it being a PlayStation exclusive, that means that Sony is sitting there over their shoulder being like, make it look really good on our PlayStations, and it will look really really good on PlayStation. One thing that Yotei has going for it, by not being an Assassin's Creed game, is that it's not an Assassin's Creed game. Shadows is a samurai flavored AC game, whereas Tsushima and Yotei are samurai games. Like they are, I mean, obviously kind of, you're kind of breaking the samurai code a little bit, being a ghost and all that, but like there's not going to be any animus trappings. There's not going to be any, things reminding you that you're in this existing universe. One of the funniest things about AC Shadows is when you first load it up, the start screen basically has you in the animus, and it has the other recent Assassin's Creed games. And when I first started, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's cool. I can check out like what happened in the other games. I can get like a little recap, and it doesn't. It just takes you to their store page to be like, hey, guess what? You're part of a cinematic universe. Which
it literally launched Odyssey for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have Odyssey though, so I wanted to see what happened, but it just took me to the store page and I had to read the description over there, which honestly
took me to my 150 hour save file with Cassandra and Odyssey, and I was just like, I want the new game. I want to play the new game.
I love that we have a running joke on Game Scoop that everybody upgrades their hard drives for their consoles specifically so they can keep Odyssey on their console, because I'm gonna get back to it one day.
So good.
And so that's a running joke on that show. Everybody has Odyssey installed.
Yeah. So to my point, like I really appreciate that Yotei is a unique intellectual property that is entirely focused on being in this time period. Like it's not, I really dug the Kurosawa mode because there's a kind of like kind of a clear focus to it, and like we've seen plenty of other games that have like, they're like, you can have an Instagram filter on while you're fighting or whatever. And you're like, okay, that's neat. But the Kurosawa mode was like such a commitment to being like, yeah, this is what this is based on. And I dug that. Like I thought that was awesome. And I don't know. I hope we see. I hope that comes back for this one. I don't know what they're going to do over there, but like I guess in terms of mechanics, I hope that it does expand on what the first game had and takes advantage of like the newer tech. But I hope it does some new stuff. Like I hope it does like a little bit to really make it feel like a different character. I mean, looking at the difference between like infamous like Second Son and First Light having basically different sets of superpowers. Like that's there's definitely potential for that to happen. And it's also an entirely different time period, which is nice because it means that there's not going to be like, hey, remember this guy? He's back again. Unless they do some like Far Cry Herc bullshit by having like, oh, remember it's this guy's cousin who looks the same as this guy, has the same name as that guy. But no, I don't know. Like it's going to be an interesting conversation when, Game of the Year rolls around. I mean, realistically speaking, I feel like Assassin's Creed is like they've not worn out their welcome, but it's like they're typically not really included in Game of the Year considerations just because they are such a kind of known quantity. But like it is going to be a big conversation about like what's the best samurai game of 2025? I don't know. And I don't know. I'm excited to find out. But yeah, like weirdly enough, I was expecting to be like, I don't know, open world samurai fatigue. I went into Shadows kind of like, nonplussed, but I came away like kind of wanting to just do more katana stuff, So yeah, whoever wins, we win, I guess.